had chased away the last of the customers. Millie had just turned the open sign to closed when the sound came, that dull, heavy thud. Her heart jumped. The lights flickered, and for a split second she saw the shape pressed against the glass, small but fierce, with golden eyes glinting under the neon diner sign. She froze. What in the world? The creature staggered once, then collapsed right at the doorway. Millie grabbed her raincoat and hurried outside, her shoes splashing through puddles. Up close, she realized what she was looking at. A bobcat, maybe 20 pounds, fur soaked and tangled with mud, one hind leg twisted awkwardly beneath it.
"Oh, sweetheart," she whispered, her voice trembling. "What happened to you?" The animal's eyes fluttered open, weak but alert. It tried to crawl away but didn't have the strength. Millie wasn't a vet, but she'd rescued stray cats all her life. None like this, though. This was wild, dangerous. Still, something in those eyes stopped her from backing away. She fetched an old blanket from her car, knelt slowly and covered the animal, murmuring softly, "Easy now, I got you." The bobcat didn't fight. Maybe it knew she wasn't a threat. Maybe it was simply too weak. Within minutes, she'd carried it inside the diner, setting it down near the heater. The smell of coffee and rain filled the air. Millie locked the door, heart still pounding. She called the only vet in town, Dr. Harris, who lived just 5 blocks away. "Doc, I know this sounds crazy, but there's a bobcat in my diner. She's hurt bad." A pause. Then, "Millie, tell me you didn't bring it inside." "I couldn't leave her out there." "I'll be right there. Don't touch her." When Dr. Harris arrived, the storm was still raging. He pushed open the door, shaking rain off his hat, then stopped dead in his tracks at the sight of the bobcat curled by the counter, eyes half shut but breathing steadily. "Well, I'll be," he muttered. "That's one brave or foolish thing you did, Millie." "She was dying," Millie said softly. "I couldn't just shut the door." Dr. Harris knelt down, inspecting the leg carefully. "Broken. Clean fracture. Looks like a car hit her." He sighed. "You may have saved her life tonight." Dr. Harris worked quickly, spreading out his medical kit on one of the diner's booths. The warm light bounced off the chrome edges and faded posters on the wall. An odd place to perform a rescue, but somehow it felt right.
The bobcat's breathing was shallow but steady. Every so often, she twitched, her claws flexing weakly under the blanket. Millie stood nearby, holding a towel and whispering softly, like she was talking to an old friend. "Easy, girl. You're safe now." The vet gave her a measured glance. "You sure you want to stay this close? She's still wild. Pain makes them unpredictable." Millie nodded, eyes never leaving the animal. "I know, but look at her. She's terrified, not angry." Dr. Harris wrapped the injured leg, cleaned the wounds, and injected a sedative. "She'll sleep through the night, but we can't move her in this storm. I'll come back in the morning to check her vitals." As the door shut behind him, the diner felt impossibly quiet. Just the hum of the old refrigerator, the ticking clock above the counter, and the rhythmic patter of rain against the windows. Millie sat on the floor beside the bobcat, legs crossed, the smell of coffee lingering in the air. She studied the animal's face, the faint scar above her eye, the dark, tear-shaped markings under each amber eye. "You've seen some things, haven't you? So have I." Hours passed. The clock hit midnight, then 1, then 2. Every now and then, the bobcat would stir, soft growls in her sleep, tiny movements of her tail. Each time, Millie would whisper something gentle until she settled again. When dawn finally came, the rain had stopped. Pale light crept through the blinds, brushing across the linoleum floor. Millie was still there, half asleep against the counter, when a faint sound stirred her awake.
Her eyes opened. The bobcat was awake, still weak, but alert. "Hey there, sleepyhead," Millie said softly. The animal's gaze shifted toward her. For a few seconds, neither moved. Then, slowly, the bobcat lifted her head and pressed her nose lightly against the edge of Millie's shoe. It wasn't an attack, it was trust. Tears pricked at Millie's eyes. "You're welcome," she whispered. Later that morning, Dr. Harris returned with a portable crate and medication. The diner smelled like fresh biscuits and disinfectant. He found Millie refilling a bowl of water near the booth. "Well, look at you two," he said, chuckling. "She's calmer than most house cats." "She hasn't hissed once," Millie said proudly. Dr. Harris carefully lifted the bobcat into the crate. "We'll take her to the clinic for a few days. Once she's stable, we'll decide whether she can be released." But when Millie nodded, she felt a strange ache inside, one she couldn't explain. As the truck pulled away with the crate in the back, Millie stood at the doorway, hands tucked into her apron, watching the road disappear into sunlight. Something about that morning felt unfinished, like a story she hadn't yet been allowed to read to the end. 3 days later, the diner was back to its usual rhythm, coffee brewing, bacon sizzling, and the jukebox humming softly in the background. But for Millie, something had shifted. Every time the front bell jingled, she half expected to see the vet, or even the bobcat at the door. She tried to shake it off, pouring coffee refills for the early truckers and wiping down counters that didn't really need wiping. Then, one morning, Dr. Harris pushed through the door with a smile that made her drop a stack of menus. "She made it," he said simply. Millie froze. "You mean—"
"The bobcat," he said. "Strong girl. Infection's clearing up faster than I expected. I think she'll be ready for release by tomorrow." "That's amazing," Millie said, but her voice cracked just enough to give her away. Dr. Harris noticed. "You got attached, huh?" "I guess I did," she admitted. "Did she seem okay? Like, scared?" The vet smiled. "She's calmer when you're around. Every time you visited, her heart rate dropped. That's not nothing, Millie." She blinked back a tear. "Can I be there when you release her?" "Wouldn't have it any other way." The next morning, the sun rose clear for the first time in weeks. Puddles shimmered across the Texas plains, and the smell of wet earth filled the air. Millie followed Dr. Harris's truck in her old blue pickup to the edge of a wildlife preserve, where open grasslands stretched to the horizon. The crate sat in the truck bed, silent except for the soft sound of breathing inside. Millie approached slowly, her hands trembling. When Dr. Harris unlatched the door, the bobcat didn't bolt. She stepped out cautiously, testing the wind, her golden eyes scanning the horizon. Then she looked back. For a long heartbeat, she and Millie just stared at each other. No sound, no movement, just recognition, the kind that runs deeper than species or reason. Then the bobcat turned and bounded into the tall grass, vanishing into the wild. Millie smiled through tears. "Goodbye, beautiful girl." Weeks passed. Life at the diner fell back into its old rhythm, though something about it felt softer now. The way Millie greeted customers,
the way she looked out the window during closing time, searching the horizon without knowing why. Then, one evening in late autumn, a sudden commotion outside made her pause mid-cleanup. A few locals had gathered near the edge of the parking lot, pointing toward the field. "Millie," called one of them, "you'd better come see this." She stepped outside, apron still on. The sky was streaked orange and pink, and the wind carried the scent of dry grass. And there, standing at the edge of the lot, was the bobcat. Alive, healthy, her coat sleek, her eyes bright. Millie's breath caught. She took one careful step forward. "Hey there," she whispered. The bobcat didn't run. Instead, she dropped something gently from her mouth onto the ground. A small, worn diner napkin, soaked but unmistakably carried from somewhere far away. Then, without a sound, the bobcat turned and disappeared into the fields once more. Millie knelt, heart pounding, and picked up the napkin. Her name, Millie, was faintly printed on the corner, one of the ones she used every day behind the counter. Tears blurred her vision. She came back.
Behind her, the neon sign buzzed softly. Millie's Diner, glowing against the dusk. That night, Millie sat on the diner steps long after closing, the napkin still folded carefully in her hand. The air was cool, filled with the soft hum of crickets and the distant glow of headlights on the highway. She couldn't shake the feeling that the bobcat's visit meant something more, not just gratitude, but connection. In the days that followed, word of the sighting spread through town like wildfire. Customers teased her good-naturedly about her wild visitor. A few even stopped by, hoping for a glimpse of the famous cat. But Millie didn't mind. Deep down, she knew what she'd seen. That look, that quiet, knowing glance, had said everything. Dr. Harris dropped by a few days later. "Heard your girl came back," he said with a grin. "She did," Millie replied softly. "She left me a napkin." He chuckled. "Of course she did. Animals find ways to say thank you, you know. Not like us. They don't waste words." Millie smiled faintly. "You think she'll come again?" He leaned on the counter, thoughtful. "Maybe, but even if she doesn't, she already told you what she needed to."
Winter rolled in quietly that year. Snow dusted the edges of the diner's sign, and the regulars kept the coffee pots emptying faster than ever. Life moved on, yet every so often, when the morning sun spilled across the parking lot just right, Millie would glance toward the open fields and imagine a tawny shape moving in the distance. Then came early spring. The snow melted, giving way to patches of green. One foggy morning, Millie was unlocking the diner when she heard it. A soft, chirping sound, almost like a bird. Her heart stopped. She turned toward the sound. There, beneath the old oak, near the dumpster, sat the bobcat, and beside her, 2 tiny kits. Millie covered her mouth, tears immediately pooling in her eyes. The mother bobcat met her gaze for a moment, a calm, unhurried moment, before nudging one of the kittens gently forward. The tiny creature tottered, took a few curious steps toward Millie, and then darted back. Millie laughed through her tears. "You brought your babies here?" she whispered. It was almost as if the bobcat wanted her to see them, to know that she had survived, that she had made a life, that kindness had rippled forward into something new. A few moments later, The mother bobcat turned, the kittens following her into the tall grass beyond the diner lot. Millie stood there until they vanished completely into the dawn fog. That night, she sat inside after hours, lights low, a single cup of coffee in front of her. The napkin, the same one from months ago, was framed on the wall behind the counter now. Beneath it, she'd written in neat cursive, "Sometimes gratitude doesn't need words." The bell above the door jingled as the last of her customers left. She watched their taillights fade into the night, then smiled to herself, a deep, peaceful smile. The bobcat hadn't just survived, she had healed. And, in her own quiet way, she had healed Millie, too.